To question 17. We covered all the previous questions. This is now topic 5. Topic 5 DTHL, also SL, guys. uh, and November 25. Right, paper 1. Hopefully that's clear. And we'll just go through all the questions. Definitely try them out yourself first, then look at whatever I say. And we'll just walk through every possibility. And that's what we have been doing. So definitely go check out the playlist. Okay. BMW vehicles feature an anti-lock braking system, ABS. ABS was invented in early 1920s, still a feature of automobiles today, and is essential by law. ABS works by rapidly squeezing and releasing the brake pads on the wheels many times per second. This allows drivers to slow down under control and prevents the vehicle from skidding in both dry and wet conditions. Okay. Which strategy for innovation led to the introduction of ABS in BMW vehicles? Okay. So we have no indication that it's an act of insight or chance or anything of the sort, but let's see. It's not an analogy either. They haven't told us that they've applied something from another industry or from another solution. So it can't be adaptation, analogy, chance. And and so let's just walk through what each of these mean. So chance is, and it's almost the same as an active insight, right? But chance is a unexpected discovery, right? Or invention that leads to an invention, sorry. So unexpected discovery, for example, the guy who made the water spray water guns had an unexpected discovery. He was actually working on something else, and he discovered that you can just shoot water out of a high pressure pipe. And so that was an unexpected discovery that led to a new idea, right? Or invention. So is that what we have here? Not necessarily, right? We don't have a unexpected discovery. It seems like it was invented on purpose. There was a reason for it, and they were looking to solve that specific problem. It wasn't something else they were solving and then stumbled upon, right? So let's look at the other ones. We're going to say not chance. Then we have analogy. Analogy is an idea from one context being used from one context. Let's use the used to stimulate ideas for solutions. Stimulate ideas for solving a problem in a different industry, right? Or different field. So an idea from one context used to stimulate ideas for solving a problem in another context, right? And that's different from adaptation. Adaptation is more about using the solution from one field as the solution for another field, right? So this one's more about inspiring ideas to solve another problem in another context. That one is more about using the solution in one field as a solution for the other field. That is what adaptation is. And so market pull, and I'm only mentioning adaptation because a lot of people confuse that. So now we have C, that is market pull. Let's talk about what that is. That is when we have demand, right? Demand from market creates, it's literally what you think it would mean, right? Market pull, there's a demand from a market that creates uh, a new idea, creates reason to have a new idea. So, new idea needed, right? And that's not really clear here, but we'll just go through the last one, active insight. Active insight is more of, this eureka moment. That is what we define as eureka moment. And that is when we sit with a problem for a while, sit with a problem, lots of time thinking. Sorry, you're spending lots of time thinking about the problem, and then you finally stumble upon a solution, and you have this image in your mind. Oh, wait, we can do this. Sudden realization or image. It doesn't have to be a sudden realization, right? That is one way we can define it, a eureka moment, sudden realization. But it can also just be a image that you get in your mind. Oh, this is a possible way we can solve this, right? Sudden image formed in the mind. And so that's usually after lots of time thinking. So that is a important thing to remember. Chance is more about, oh, sudden. Chance is a sudden, unexpected discovery. And so that you're not really spending a lot of time thinking about this specific problem. You were actually thinking about another problem, and then you realized, oh, wait, this is a new discovery. Okay, so now let's decide which one suits our question best. Because clearly this is almost very badly worded and very hard. It's a it's a guess question either way. Now, what we need to know is this was invented in the early 1920s. So we didn't have a lot of cars that in that period, right? Cars not very affordable or very common. It was reserved for, high profile individuals or those with money, wealth. So very uncommon. Okay, and so what we can say is there wasn't much demand. You can't have demand for something that's not very common, right? You can't have high demand for this braking system that wasn't very common. And so we can say our market pull is not really an option. This idea was not needed as there wasn't much demand for it in the market. And so our we're left with, now it could be market pull, right? That is a possibility. But in this case, I'm gonna say no. Chance is a no for sure. There's no unexpected discovery. Analogy. Now, they have not told us anything about using something from a different context, right? There's nothing about that. Usually they'll have maybe a short snippet or comment about something, but there's nothing here. So I would say not analogy. Now we're left with active insight, and it's not really clear, but if you think about it, people must have spent a lot of time thinking about how do I solve this braking problem because because uh they want to slow down under control and they don't want to skid. They've been experiencing problems with skidding. And so they must have thought about this for a very long time and had a sudden realization, oh, what if we just squeezed to stop and then released quickly and then stopped and then released to just have a slow stop release action that helped us slow down uh less abruptly, right? And so it was probably an act of insight that drove that. And maybe there was a market pull to drive that active insight, but market pull typically means there's a very high demand for something and people are, you know, calling for that invention, which is not the case, right? It's not something that people would have been thinking about. It's more of a technology push, right? Tech push comes from a tech push. And next is question 18. Hopefully that made sense, but this is a really tough question. Question 18. Why do some innovators decide not to patent their innovation, but start producing and selling their product as soon as possible? So, if they do not patent their invention, then what they're doing is uh, essentially making easy to copy invention, right? And so this is obviously not the case to prevent others. They would obviously file a patent if they wanted to prevent others, but that's not what they're going for. So it's not A. Start producing and selling their product as soon as possible. So the reason one would do that is to be first to market, right? Clearly, that is the answer. They want to be first to the market. They don't want anyone to see their patent and then be like, oh, I can rework this idea and I can make a cheap copy, or I can make a copy quickly and then go first to market, right? So someone can do that, but let's look at the other options to ensure they can sell the product for a long time. Sell the product for a long time. Now, what does that mean? That means we want a patent, right? Being first to market does not mean, and being first to market and producing early and selling as soon as possible does not mean you're going to sell for a long time, right? Sell for a long time. You need something to protect your invention. You need a patent. Need a long-term patent. So LT patent, right? To protect your product from being copied. And you want to be first to market as well, but that's a byproduct. Then we want to allow others to patent their idea. Why would you want others? That is not a good thing, right? You don't want. That is a disadvantage to the company. Disadvantage. So not this, not this. And so our answer is B. Question 19. Which point of a product's life cycle is most ideal to launch a new generation of a product? So you do not want to launch a new product during the launch of previous product. That makes no sense. You're going to make zero sales. Zero sales, right? So not A. You don't want to do it during the growth because this product is growing. And if you launch a new product, this one's going to have less sales, right? Uh, you're prohibiting future sales, prohibiting future growth, right? Future sales, right? You're literally stopping, you're sending the old product into decline. Sales, sending product to decline, product to decline stage, right? Because you're introducing this new, uh, possibly advanced, more feature product. So this old product is going to become irrelevant. If you do it during maturity, uh, maturity is where you have peak sales, right? So you're again sending the product to decline. Now, maturity might be a better place to do this than launch or growth, but the best place to do this is when the product is in decline, is about to decline. Then you want to introduce a new generation. So D is our answer. New generation might even inspire interest or attract new customers to old product, right? To old product. Maybe it's more affordable. Uh, maybe more affordable, right? So that's how we should be thinking about this. Growth does not make sense. Maturity is possibly a better option, but decline is the best. Maturity, if we're at the end of our maturity phase, then yes, for sure. Next is question 20. This is classic design, so we'll have a new video for topic 6. Hopefully this helped, guys, and see you in the next one. Do drop a like and subscribe. Any feedback is helpful, and have a great week.